I'm glad you're back. It's Chapter 8. 2 more golden tickets found. That evening, Mr. Bucket's newspaper announced finding of not only the third golden ticket, but the fourth as well. 2 golden tickets found today, screamed the headlines. Only one more left. All right, said Grandpa Joe, when the whole family was gathered in the old people's room after supper. Let's hear who found them. The third ticket, read Mr. Bucket, holding the newspaper up close to his face because his eyes were bad and he couldn't afford glasses. The third ticket was found by Miss Violet Beauregard. There was great excitement in the Beauregard household. When our reporter arrived to interview the lucky young lady, cameras were clicking and flashbulbs were flashing and people were pushing and jostling and trying to get a bit closer to the famous girl. The famous girl was standing on a chair in the living room, waving the golden ticket madly at arm's length, as if she were flagging a taxi. She was talking very fast and very loudly to everyone, but it was not easy to hear all that because she was chewing so ferociously upon a piece of gum at the same time. I'm a gum chewer normally, she shouted, but when I heard about these golden ticket things, Mr. Wonka, I laid off the gum and switched to the candy bars in hope of striking lucky. Now, of course, I'm right back on the gum. And I just adore gum. I just can't do without it. I munch it all day long except for a few minutes at mealtimes when I take it out and I stick it behind my ear for safekeeping. To tell you the truth, the honest truth, I simply couldn't feel comfortable if I didn't have a little wedge of gum to chew on at every moment of the day. I really couldn't. My mother says it's not ladylike, and it looks ugly to see a girl's jaws going up and down like mine do all the time. I just don't agree. And who's to criticize anyway? Because if you ask me, I'd say that her jaws are going up and down almost as much as mine are, just as yelling at me every minute of the day. Now, Violet, Mrs. Beauregard said from the far corner of the room, where she was standing on the piano to avoid being trampled by the mob. All right, Mother, keep your hair on, Miss Beauregard shouted out. And now, she went on, turning to the reporters again, it may interest you to know that this piece of gum I'm chewing on right at this moment is the one I've been chewing on for over 3 months solid. That's a record, that is. It's beaten the record because it's beaten the record held by my best friend, Miss Cornelia Princemeadow. She was mad. It's my most treasured possession now, this piece of gum is. At nights, I just stick it on the end of the bedpost, and it's as good as ever in the morning. It's a bit hard at first, maybe, but as soon as it softens up again, I've given it a few good chews. Before I started chewing for the whole world record, I used to change my piece of gum every day. I used to do it in our elevator on the way home from school. Why the elevator? Because I like sticking the gooey piece that I just finished onto one of the elevator buttons. And when the next person came along and pressed the elevator button, they got all my old gum on the end of his or her finger. Ha! And what a racket they kicked up, some of them. You get the best results with the women who have expensive gloves on. Oh, yes, I'm thrilled to be going on Mr. Wonka's factory tour. And I understand that afterwards he's going to give me enough gum to last me for the rest of my whole life. Whoopee! Hooray! Beastly girl, Grandma Josephine said. Despicable, said Grandma Georgina. She'll come to a sticky end one day chewing all that gum. You see if she doesn't. And who got the 4th golden ticket, Daddy? Charlie asked. Let me see, said Mr. Bucket, peering at the newspaper again. Ah, yes, here we are. The 4th golden ticket, he read, was found by a boy called Mike TV. Oh, another bad lot, I'll be bound, muttered Grandma Josephine. Don't interrupt, Grandma, said Mrs. Bucket. The TV household, said Mr. Bucket, going on with his reading, was crammed like all the others with excited visitors when our reporter arrived, but young Mike TV, the lucky winner, seemed to be extremely annoyed by the whole business. Can't you fools see I'm watching television? He said angrily. I wish you wouldn't interrupt. The 9-year-old boy was seated before the enormous television set, with his eyes glued to the screen, and he was watching a film, and one bunch of gangsters were shooting up another bunch of gangsters with a machine gun. Mike TV himself had no less than 18 toy pistols of various size hanging from his belts around his body, and every now and again he would leap up into the air and fire off a half a dozen rounds from one or the other ones of these weapons. "Quiet!" he shouted when someone tried to ask him a question. "Didn't I tell you not to interrupt? This show's an absolute whiz-banger. It's terrific. I watch it every day. I watch all of them every day, even the crummy ones, when there's no shooting. I like the gangsters best. They're terrific, those gangsters, especially when they start pumping each other full of lead or flashing the old stilettos or giving each other the 1, 2, 3 with their knuckle dusters. Oh boy, what wouldn't I give to be doing that myself? That's the life, I tell you. It's terrific." "That's quite enough," snapped Grandma Josephine. "I can't bear to listen to it." "No, me," said Grandma Georgina. "Do all children behave like this nowadays? Like these brats we've seen and heard about?" "Of course not," said Mr. Bucket, smiling at the old lady in the bed. "Some do, of course. In fact, quite a lot of them do, but not all. And now there's only one ticket left," said Grandpa George. "Quite so," sniffed Grandma Georgina, "and just as sure as I'll be having cabbage soup for supper tomorrow, that ticket will go to some nasty little beast who doesn't deserve it." I wonder who gets that last ticket. Chapter 9 is called Grandpa Joe Takes a Gamble. Come back to hear more.